Okay. I will put up the agenda. Do you have, wait a minute. What?
I can see the agenda. Is that somebody's screen?
All right, that's mine. Yep, you're all good now.
Yep. Good evening. This is the June 28th meeting of the Norwalk Parking Authority. And we are we're taking a little slight deviation from the agenda, where we will begin with discussion items and related to the minutes. If we could have comment on those, the previous minutes, if there are any comments. Hearing none, we can have a motion to approve.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you, Jeff. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The minutes carry. So.
I abstain because I wasn't, I missed last month's meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Mark me as abstain.
All right. Thank you.
Chairman, I just want to say that Peter has joined. Peter, you're under my name though. If you could just change name to yours since we'll be recorded. But I did want to just point out he's joined. So we're all are here and accounted for.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Peter, thank you for joining. We just reviewed the minutes of the May 24th meeting and approved those. Pam abstained, but they carried. And so we did that so you could join, and because we have some guests that I think would be good if everyone heard what the guests would like to contribute. So with that, I can't see the names any longer of who's on. Jim, can you? I don't know.
All right. So from guests, if you wanted, there's a couple of issues here that so for guests. So we have the team at THA. They are joining today to chat about. So we have Julio and Reggie from THA that will talk about where we are with the facade improvements and the plans for the garage. Then we also, for another guest, we have Adam Bavinsky from the Norwalk Parking Authority under new business with a Haviland parking request. So which guest would you like first?
Maybe the Haviland one, so they don't have to hang around.
Okay. So Adam, are you available to run ahead of schedule?
I am pleased to run ahead of schedule if that were the committee's, the board's request. Would it be possible for me to share my screen?
Sure, let me stop sharing. Okay.
All right. So good evening. First, I just wanted to thank you for hearing the Housing Authority out this evening. We are here to talk about the Haviland Street lot, but I don't know many of you, and I was hoping to just take a brief minute to introduce myself and my agency. I worked for my name is Adam Bavilski, Executive Director of the Norwalk Housing Authority. And I worked for the city for 11 years as the city's Director of Human Relations and Fair Rent. And been at the Housing Authority now for 5 years. The Norwalk Housing Authority is a government entity. It's covered by both state and federal funding and state and federal regulations. We're regulated by a board of commissioners as determined by state law. 4 of the 5 are appointed by the mayor of Norwalk as of right, not requiring common council approval. And 1 of our 5 board members or commissioners are elected by the tenant or appointed by the mayor. We have about 1,000 public housing units that we are the owner and or manager of. We have an additional 1,000 vouchers that tenants use in the private sector, and we administer a subsidy for them to rent apartments in the private sector. We run learning centers. We raise 300 grand a year for a scholarship fund, and which provides scholarships to about 50 or so public housing students in post-secondary education. We received a Choice Neighborhoods Initiative grant, which I'm going to talk about just super briefly. We have a variety of other programs, and we're really focusing now on preserving and expanding affordable housing here, as well as redevelopments like this one. Many of you may be familiar with our transformation of Washington Village, the oldest public housing in Connecticut, frequently flooded, lots of problems. We took over, not only did we have this site, but we took over this brownfield site here and this brownfield site here, and we converted it into beautiful brand new housing, taking 136 units of public housing and turning it into 273 units of mixed income housing. The before and after here is stark. Not only did funding for this project go into our developments, but it also went into infrastructure, raising this the street to avoid flooding, putting utilities underground, preserving the park, facade improvements. And now our plan is to do something similar over here at the train station. This is the entry point for the city for so many visitors. Right now, what you have here is Snooze decommissioned power plant, our Leroy Downs senior housing development, and our own headquarters. And our plan, original plan, included the power plant. That it seems as though the power plant is not something that we're going to be able to include in our redevelopment. But the plan is to tear down our headquarters, put Leroy Downs here, which is 49 units of senior housing, and put it on the site here. It'll be about 60 units of housing where our current headquarters are. And then we'll be able to convert this 1.5 acre site over here to probably close to 150 units of mixed income housing. Something that we're very excited about, with commercial on the first floor to activate the area and really be a better entry point for visitors to the city. But to do all of this, we need to move our headquarters. And we've been looking for over a year now for a new headquarters. In fact, we found one we thought put a bid on a place, but our inspections didn't pan out. And now our eyes are on 47-53 Water Street. That's this building, starts here. It connects to 53 Water Street here. It's got the space we need inside. It does not have the parking we require on the outside. It only comes with 5 spots under this archway here. And in fact, even those 5 spots, once we create a handicap spot and other things that as a government entity we're required to do, we may end up not having 5 full spots there. Lucky for us, this is the back of the building, is right next to the Haviland Street lot. There's actually an archway behind this building here that you can walk straight across from the Haviland lot to what may very well become our new headquarters here at 47-53 Water Street. 47-53 Water Street currently has 50 spots that they rent from the city, monthly parking spots. They rent from the parking authority, excuse me, over here at the Haviland Street lot. And the challenge is that there's an existing tenant in the building that will maintain 12 to 15 of those spots. They've got a lease that protects their interest in those spots. And we need 39 at least just for our current staff load spots. If you add the theater group in here's 12 to 15 spots. And I say 12 to 15 because their lease gives them 12, but they currently have 15 of your spots. If we include those spots and we add to it the 8 or so people on your wait list, if the building were to release those spots and then we were to try to get them, we simply would not have enough for our full staff cohort. And if we don't have enough from and in fact, possibly could even need more as we're surveying our staff right now, but they, some of them are saying that they take the train now, but they may not be able to take the train if they have to walk a half a mile to get to this location. So the problem is, again, if we release those, if the current owner releases all those spots, and the people on the wait list, who I understand is around 8 or so individuals, receive their 8, that there won't be enough for us to move. And if there isn't enough for us to move, everything comes to a halt. We can't find another location that is within our financial means and acceptable within South Norwalk. And again, we've been looking for a year, and we feel like this is this needs to be our home. And if we can't get the parking to work out, there's no redevelopment of the train station area because that's the linchpin in starting this work from moving forward. So what are we asking for? We're asking that when we purchase the building, that we take over in place of the current owner of the building and are able to maintain the 50 monthly parking spots that they have. We're not looking for any financial favors. We're happy to pay the full load for those spots. But again, we want to take over in the place of the current owner who is currently paying for those 50 spots. Ideally, we would also receive 6 NHA visitor parking spots. Again, ideally near the building in Haviland Street, because we are a government entity, we are open to the public. And that would also give us some flexibility as needed with interns and the various other types of staff that you don't always account for. The logistics to be worked out, but ideally we'd be able to allocate those as we wish, changing names and license plate numbers as necessary as staff come and go or as interns come and go and the like, and particularly for potentially even for visitors who are visiting us here at hopefully our new home, 47-53 Water Street. Alternatively, we'd ask that you create more monthly Parker spots so that if the people on the list are ahead of us, that we have at least as many, ideally 14 or so additional spots be added as monthly spots instead of metered spots, so that the Housing Authority again can serve the needs of its staff and can continue with its purchase of this property and move forward. So that's the presentation, and I would love to answer any questions that anybody has.
Adam, thank you. If I could just add a precedent, so just for the board's your information. So the initial request did come into the Parking Authority, and the request to transfer was denied. So that's where we went to the next step of where it allows to go to the Parking Authority board. It has not been the Parking Authority's previous history to transfer any parking passes. It is a common request that's received by the businesses and condo owners along Washington, or apartment owners along Washington. And it's just typically what has occurred is we have always referred to as a passes as non-transferable, and the agreement is for a non-transferable pass for all of our lots, which also include some of the challenges that exist in the Webster lot. So I know that Adam had requested to escalate, so we just wanted to give to you, but just wanted to give you a little background to that, and the Parking Authority's history of not transferring passes, but happy to move it to you for any questions for Adam or the Parking Authority itself.
And if I may, I think that what we believe sets us apart is that we are a government entity. We are a fellow government entity. We are a sister agency to the city. We're not just an ordinary commercial interested party seeking to preserve their spots.
So I guess we could open it for questions. I think it's important to, as Jim mentioned, we do have this request often, and even to the degree that when the United States passport was in 50 Washington, they ownership of that building had similar dilemmas because of their need for not just the people that work there, but for the quantity of people that were coming in and out. And then that same in the Webster lot, and then that same Webster lot, the request has been made many times over the years for dedicated parking spaces that takes those parking spaces out of the general public access, which is whether it's through a permit or through the daily or the hourly parking. How did you how did you evaluate the Maritime Garage into this, or even the Webster Street lot for that matter?
We have not gotten that far. We have our hopes really set on this lot. Our staff is used to take a few of them take the train, but most of them park right here, either in our own lots or at Leroy Downs, which is the senior development that we manage immediately adjacent to our building. There already is of course grumbling about the idea of having to walk from the train station, and so any lot that's further away would be of far less interest to us. I've not looked at how much those lots cost, or or factor in how our staff would get from the lots to our new developer, our new headquarters.
Because I know that in my office, which is at the corner, pretty much on the corner of North Main and Washington, I have several people that walk from the train station. So it's not that different of a walk there than it would be from the train to this location. So I think expecting people to fall, to get to work is really not a parking authority matter. It's really on them. And so I think that, and we certainly we could hear from everybody else, but we need to be very careful what we choose, what paths we choose to put ourselves on that are not singular. And this puts us or keeps us on a separate path. So we have a parallel system for this property that in my opinion, it is not serving the public that it needs to serve the public. The reason for public parking is that there are rotations in permits when people give them up, or they come available for whatever reason. It goes either to the next person in line, or they keep it. And that system is a fair system in my mind for the general operations of the parking authority. And I would before we dive into this, in my opinion, before we dive into this further, I don't think studying the role that the Maritime Garage could play with just a regular monthly parking pass that the individual employees would obtain, or if the parking authority chose to obtain them for them, that's up to the parking authority. But there's also a private lot on the corner of Martin Luther King and Washington that is owned by the owner of 50 Washington, that the post office has a lot of their people parking in. So that's another potential location for parking. But I feel like, and again, we can hear from everybody else, I feel like the parking authority needs to operate with one mission. And this, I think, in my opinion, takes us away from that. So if anybody wants to jump in with thoughts or comments, please do.
Judd's up, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I can't see that. Okay, go ahead, John.
So just to make sure I understand this correctly, the building has a certain number of reserved spots now attached to it, but when you buy the building, you would lose those spots and they would go to the open market, so to speak, and the next person on the waiting list would take those. So your agency could get in line, so to speak, for those, and with time obtain those spaces again. Is that correct?
Yeah, but we're not going to buy the building if we can't have our staff park there. So this it's not like we can buy the building and tell a dozen or so staff members, or however many it would be, that sorry, there's no parking here. They're used to free parking. I don't think that's sort of a possibility. So I think that we would just not take it. The building would presumably at some point be purchased by somebody else, I imagine.
Okay. Right across the street from the building is a private parking lot that I believe during the daytime you'd want to spend some time looking at it, is mostly empty. They rent that space out at night. On the weekends, they actually have a sign on the corner of Water Street and Washington Street. That could be, you know, a short-term solution for you. I have no idea what their rates are. And then again, you know, the Maritime Garage is, I don't know, you know, 8-9 minute walk away. And again, you know, until your spots came up on the waiting list, that's another option too. But I would encourage you to look at that private lot across the street for daytime parking. Or have you already done that?
We know that the current owner of 47-53 has been looking at all the options in the area because they've had a bunch of prospective buyers who have all said the same thing. They're not going to purchase the property without parking. And they've said they haven't found anything in the neighborhood that that would be similar in nature, that would work.
There's also the Harborside Apartments across, what is that? Monroe Street. Since this is daytime parking, there might be availability of spaces in that private garage as well. The role of private parking is important and can certainly be an asset for people who are looking for dedicated spaces.
Mr. Chairman, Pam has her hand up as well.
Great. I don't know how you see that. Maybe it's because I'm on my iPad. All right, Pam, yes, please.
Hi, Adam. How many spaces in total after the 8 waiting list people do you need extra? So it
So
would be the 50 plus whatever you need.
I think it would be, so it would be the 50 minus 12 for the current tenants, minus 8 is 30. So we would need 10 for staff and maybe another 4 or 5 for visitors would be the ideal.
For the public.
For the public, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we have the spots in there now, but if we have a meeting with staff,
How many total number, 50.
we would love to get.
There's an echo on somebody.
Yeah,
What was that again? I didn't hear the answer.
There's an echo. Do you have a microphone and your phone?
you broke up a little there, Pam.
Oh, I'm breaking up.
Oh, now you're
there.
fine. Now you're good. You for a minute there, you must have had a connection issue. We just couldn't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, East Norwalk. Yeah, we have those a lot. Okay, this is my personal opinion. We're making a lot of something big out of something that could be easily fixed. They are a sister entity of the city of Norwalk. I say that my personal opinion is instead of them going another year or 2 years, because our housing crisis is so bad in Norwalk, and I understand that we are trying as a city to use city-owned property to build affordable housing instead of the one making one single family homes into 2-family homes. They're branching out and using our city-owned property. What Adam is going to have to do now is he's going to have to delay using his property and probably take him another year to find another place to, commercial property, office building for him to staff up. I say we make an exception since they're a sister entity, city entity, and just give them whatever parking places they need and just call it a day. Let me just tell you how many people hate us. And this is why, okay? You gotta give a little here. You gotta give a little to the city of Norwalk and to the citizens of Norwalk. We're not in this to make freaking money, okay? That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Sure, yes.
So, Adam, total of 54-ish stalls. And basically we're able to provide you somewhere in the realm of 38, but we come up roughly, that many short. Is that the case? Am I framing that correctly?
Yeah, that's right. We're about 10 short for employees and another 4 or 5 for guests in an ideal world.
Okay, so we're 14 stalls short, and kind of with all due respect to my fellow board member here, I wouldn't expect to be kind of moved to the front of the line at housing just because I'm a member of the parking authority. I'm not suggesting that this isn't something we would be able to accommodate, that we wouldn't be able to accommodate. But I got to be honest. I am a little frustrated that you're bringing this to the parking authority and hanging a redevelopment and a relocation of an entire city organization on 14 stalls. I think the ability of our agencies to work together to find you those stalls in a proximate location, maybe not the Haviland garage, but maybe someplace else, would be valuable. But I would think that we would be doing the city and the individuals who have been sitting on a waiting list, potentially parking their cars in East Norwalk, who perhaps live on Washington Street, we would be doing them a disservice by jumping over them to accommodate what is effectively a real estate transaction. When we just don't do rulemaking this way. I appreciate the situation that you're in. I think Matt Pence from Transit may be able to assist as well. I think there's more than just the parking authority to solve this problem. I know it's the fastest way, it's the most convenient way. But I think we are talking about daytime parking in the Haviland lot, in the monthly dedicated parking area versus the public parking area. I think there's some way to come to a managed conclusion here, but I don't think that putting our wait list aside is entirely the right answer. So, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Any further comment? Jim, I just have a procedural question if there's not.
And Judd has his hand raised.
Okay, Jeff, please. Yes.
You're muted, Judd.
Adam, I just did a Google Maps from the Maritime Garage, and it's a little less than a quarter mile. It's a 5-minute walk. I'm also on the Bike Walk Commission, and a statistic that sticks in my mind is that most people are willing to walk a quarter mile. Beyond that, they think it's too far, and you're right at that point. And also, I want to request of you that before you write off buying this whole building, you speak to the property owner across the street, because again, looking at Google Earth, I don't know what the date is of the view, but that parking lot across the street right now, if you were to look at it, it's got about 10 cars in it, and maybe there's 40 spots. I think they might be open to renting you some spots there.
I'm sorry, which building is that?
Directly across the street, across Water Street, from the building that you want to purchase. I think like the Harbor Side Cafe is in there. Maybe let me.
Harbor Landing is
Sono Harbor Deli and Cafe. Behind it is a parking lot that, as far as I know, and I live in South Norwalk and drive on Water Street a lot. That parking lot is not fully used during the day. So, I want to ask you to look into that, and I'm happy to help. help you contact that owner if need be.
Thank you.
So, Jim, what do we, so are we, this is just a discussion item, right? There's no action for us to take, right?
So, so this was the escalation available to someone who did not get what they viewed as a satisfactory answer from the parking authority, and had the ability to escalate to the board. So this is to put the board for, your decision on where we do. I share with I share the challenges with Adam. I really do. And I understand the opportunity to get goodwill in here, but the Haviland parking deck is the busiest lot that we have, both for transient use and for permit use. In fact, we spent, you'll recall, I think about a year ago, a good portion contacting all those people and offering up and moving people to the Maritime Garage and to the Sono train station to kind of reduce that wait list. It is a constant request to transfer that the parking authority receives. And while I do understand the challenges of a sister agency and there, I think it is dangerous when government supersedes over the general public, but that's my personal opinion.
So do we need to vote or do we?
You need to vote, yeah, because the item is on for you Adam would be looking for some direction.
Okay, so if we could have a motion one way or the other, I would ask that it include the offer of assistance, as Judge just mentioned, for investigating the other assets, providing information as necessary from the Maritime Garage, contacts of the private lot at the Washington and Martin Luther King, contacts perhaps for Harborside Apartments. Those are all within the quarter mile that Judd mentioned, I believe. So if the motion is to not allow this, and then if the motion is to allow it, then we'll just simply take a vote with whatever the motion is.
Mr. Chairman, if it's not out of order, I'd like to move to executive session to further discuss with board members.
Okay, let's do that then. So Adam, if you'll hold on for a few minutes.
So I forgot who was on for support for the city.
Hey, Jim.
Do you want me to just log off? Jim, do you have my cell phone? You can text me if you want me to come back.
Well, we actually have to get, we have like other parties in the room as well. So it's not just, I need to have a place to go for the board members.
All right, and
Oh, I see.
just for the, as a former city person who ran a lot of meetings, you're going to need a reason to go into executive session that's covered by FOI.
So that reason would be to discuss the request that's been put before us. But physically how we do that, it sounds like we have to log into another meeting.
And I'm not sure discussing requests is something that's not covered by FOI, but I'll mute myself and stop talking.
All right, thank you. So Jim, how do we handle this?
Eric,
Yes.
if you table this till next month?
Well, Adam muted, so I assumed that he needed some feedback right away, but maybe he doesn't.
I mean,
The housing authority would prefer an answer, whatever it be tonight, so we can either proceed or not proceed.
Well, I mean, if we tabled it for a month, I'll find out who the owner is across the street and look into the parking situation there. That, I mean, again, to me, that would solve your problem if it's a possibility. And we can't know that tonight. And I understand you want to get this resolved, but it's a big question.
So Adam, is that month acceptable?
I don't think I get a say in whether or not you table an item for a month or not. We
Yeah,
were
but we're trying-
hoping to move forward.
We're trying to accommodate you, and
No, we appreciate that. We really do. And we appreciate all your time on this evening. The Housing Authority does.
I'd like to make a motion to table this for a month, till next month.
and between now and then, we could have a executive session.
Yeah, if need be, yep, and look into the alternatives.
So is everyone clear on the motion? Can we have a second?
A second, I'll second.
Thank you, Peter. So all in favor?
I
All opposed?
I'm going to abstain, Mr. Chairman.
Abstain? So the motion, I didn't see it, Pam, I can't see who's voting, so. You voted in favor, Pam?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. All right, so that covers it then. So Jim, then I guess we'll need to,
All right, so we'll table and I'll put it on the agenda for next month.
yes.
Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
you.
So the next item on the agenda is the financial and operating report. Unless there are other public.
I will can be one, I will open up your agenda. Okay, there you are.
If there's no further public comment, then we can move on to the financial operating report.
Okay, so I will stop sharing and Staffy, you could take over.
Their screen and the report.
You're a little muffled, Stathis.
That a little better?
Not really. Well, go ahead.
Let me see if I can't go off and come back. How's that?
Yeah, maybe just go and let's, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll do my best. Hopefully, I don't have internet issues either. So from a budget perspective, parking revenue is down for the month. And that's mainly because of some over budgeting that we did, especially at the Maritime Garage. I think we expected the recovery to come back a little stronger when at the time we did the budget. But despite that, for the month year to date, we are up almost 6% compared to budget. And compared to last year, we're actually up almost about 5%. Excuse me. On the expense side, for the month, we are under budget almost 7%, and that's really over several line items. No big ones to speak of. And year to date, compared to budget, we are under budget about almost 5%. And some of the major positive variances or favorable variances are really in payroll, equipment expense, and snow removal. compared to last year, the actuals were pretty much right on the expenses. And moving to the next page, Rocky, to the variance report. Transient, I just mentioned was off, and because of our budgeting, but we did see some gains that offset the negative variances. So Maritime Garage, Haviland, North Water were a little under budget, but that was offset by gains in some other locations. So we were just, I think, a little bit too aggressive at the time. But hindsight's 20/20, I guess. Violations, or so similar to last month, we're seeing a disparity between what was budgeted as far as tickets collected compared to what was actually. So the number of tickets was actually higher than that we collected, was actually higher than we budgeted. And the average ticket value was also higher. But when we look into that, you can see that almost about 30% of the collections were actually from late fees, about 32,000. So that covers most of that variance. And then, excuse me, moving down to the expense side of the variance report, security services. This was fixed in the 2024 budget, but this was simply, a timing of payments. We straight line the budget as we talked about before, but some invoices in this line item are paid quarterly. So we think we fixed that for that next fiscal year, and hopefully you won't see this line item so often in the report. The equipment expense, as we've talked about, a lot of deferred expense. We didn't buy new vehicles, and we're redeploying those customer service vehicles, so we didn't need to purchase new ones. Building repair and maintenance. Excuse me. Some of the projects haven't been completed, but we did accrue for them. So what you're going to see when you go to the forecast, when we get to the next page, is going to be that the forecast includes some accruals from previous projects that were approved but not yet completed. But we did add about 350,000 in the forecast for Yankee Doodle Garage facade improvements, and for South Norwalk Railroad Station improvements as well. So the last item on the variance report is the parking program, which again, this was fixed in the 2024 budget. But this one happened to be just timing of payments. And once we process all the outstanding ones in June, we should be right on budget. Then moving, Rocky, to the full P&L on the next page. The highlighted items are the ones that we discussed in the variance report. Unless anyone has questions, the only thing I will note is a couple line items on signage. So that forecast includes the remainder of the cost of the signage at South Norwalk Railroad Station and East Norwalk, the welcome marquee signs at the entrances. So that's that one. And then the other item I want to bring to your attention as far as the forecast goes is uniforms, where we have budgeted, or we have forecast some additional expense because of the switch to the new logo in uniform issue. So other than that, I'll pause a moment if anybody has any questions on this page. All right, well, seeing none, we'll move to the next page, the code report, which to Eric's pleasure is going to be the last report after next month. So compared to May, or the May COVID report, the system revenues about 95% of pre-COVID levels. When you compare May of this year to May of 2019. On the expense side, we are 10% below pre-COVID expense levels in May of 2019. Next page, Rocky, the system-wide activity. So I know this has a comparison to pre-COVID, but even though we're down compared to it, we are up almost 4% year to date compared to last year. And there's a huge increase in activity at a few facilities, mainly the rail station facilities. South Norwalk was up 55%, or about 20,000 transactions. East Norwalk, 165%, which represents about 3,000 transactions, and more modest increases at Webster and Liberty Square, which were both about 14% increases. And next page, Rocky, on permits. It's still been relatively consistent. As you can see, the number of permits is up over 7%, and that's mainly from the rail stations. The on-street. So demands year to date are about the same as previous year, and following somewhat of seasonal trends. What we can go to, Rocky, if you don't mind, we're starting to report on the comparisons between SoNo and the Wall Street district. I guess we're going to have to dub this the Fulham report now. So we didn't work it into the report yet, but we will start. We can start doing that if you want to.
I just, hey, Stati, don't call it versus. You know, it's not a competition. If you would, just maybe some other way to.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just comparing to. Just
Yeah.
compare to.
Yeah, just put a slash. Put SoNo / Wall Street or Wall Street / SoNo.
Okay. I can fix that. So I think what's to note here is that you know, over half the transactions are generated in SoNo, in the SoNo district, and 65% of the revenue is from the SoNo district. And on the revenue side, obviously, it's because of the rate disparity.
So not to change the subject, but Jim, this isn't something that would factor into that Webster Street or Webster lot analysis, right?
No, so the Webster lot analysis that is being done is solely about the revenue that is generated actually at the Webster, but then we're looking at, you know, if Webster was out of the equation, how do the rest factor in? So they are looking at the whole entire general, but in factoring out just the Webster, it's solely the activity that's taking place on that.
No, I understand, but if you separate Webster, the SoNo 19,000 becomes something else, right?
Yeah, so Webster would be included in the SoNo, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my apologies.
I guess well, never mind. I don't want to change the subject. Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe I should make a correction. This is really just on street, so it doesn't include.
Oh, okay.
Include the Webster, Eric.
Oh, good, good. Okay, that's even better. Thank you.
Because that was my understanding of what Peter was looking for, right, Peter?
Yes, exactly.
That's great. This is very good news then.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so moving on then, and please, if anybody has questions, you know, stop me. On the enforcement side, ticket issuance is down about 12% compared to last year to date. It has been following some seasonal trends over the last few months. Violation revenue also is now a little bit lower than it was in the past compared to system revenue. So it's a little over 19%. And some time ago, you know, as we were coming out of COVID, it was higher. It was like over 20%. And then moving on to the next page, Rocky, to the judge reports. We saw a little spike in May on the ratio of ticket issuance to demands. And then on the second report, you could see by street. So I'll pause there if there's any questions. Okay. Then we'll finish off strong with the pay by cell report. So year-to-date transactions are up 19% compared to last year. May is actually up 87%. I know Eric doesn't like the pre-COVID ones, but I thought this was so big. May was up 87% compared to May of 2019. And pay by cell transactions represent really an increasing percent of system demands now. 25%, excuse me, are represented by pay by cell, and 12% of the revenue. And that was all we had to report. Was there anything else, Rocky, that we needed to cover?
That was his start.
Stati, real quick question. Sorry. When you say it represents 12.5% of revenue, is that just parking transaction revenue? Or what I'm getting at is, does that include violation revenue as well in that revenue number as a percentage?
Yes, it includes system-wide revenue. That's all revenue buckets.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. That helps. Thanks.
So
That's very interesting. I think, and worthy of us taking a deeper dive at, that I think that's speaking to how people want to use the system, right? More people want to have, and I think, we've been looking at, better signage on that. We marrying it. So, I think worthy of further discussion, and we'll continue to work with the operators on that to see if we can't take a deeper dive. But I had a conversation. I think we're seeing get paid by cell up nationally. Its usage. So good point.
excellent.
Staffy, could you take the screen down so I can put their agenda back up?
Yeah.
So while he's doing that, I have a receipt from parking in White Plains the other night, and they print the convenience fee on the receipt, which I think we included in the total. Just wanted to put that out there, that whether there's value in showing what the convenience fee is for using the mobile app. And then the second thing that struck me is their convenience fee is 20 cents and ours is 30.
Who was that operator?
It's
Is it pay by cell? I mean, is it Park Mobile?
it's no, it's not. It's a different. Can you see that?
Yep.
Barely.
Let me get that from you afterwards, Eric, and then we'll take a look at that.
Okay, it's powered by Passport, if that means anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
passport parking. Yeah. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to make a point of parliamentary procedure, if possible. Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
please.
So I apologize, because after I requested an executive session, I got a phone call. And it seemed to me that we were dissuaded from pivoting to a executive session for some sort of FOIA implication. Just so you know, what we were being asked of by the housing authority was effectively relinquishing control from the public of control of a certain number of parking spaces, which is a transaction. That type of transaction is perfectly permitted to be discussed in executive session, as I understand Roberts. I'm open to being corrected, but we have that ability. And if someone was interested in reconsidering tabling, it is what it is.
So thank you, Matt. The reason, well, it was tabled for the month because a suggestion of one of the board members. But I'm fine going into executive session now if everybody wants to, and we can deal with it. I don't think Adam's still on the phone. I don't know, or on the call. So it's what everybody wants to do. Are you suggesting, Matt, that if everybody wants to do an executive session now, that's fine? Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding and interpretation, but we would have to reconsider the motion there would have to be a motion to reconsider the tabling. I do want to be fair to our other partners that are here to present to us as well.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have some feedback from everybody.
If I could suggest, since we do have guests in the room, maybe we could look at the finishing that and then we're recalling this item up before you adjourn, and then make a determination if you wanted to enter into executive session at that time.
Okay.
Matt, I do concur with you. I think it's also it's basically we're looking at a contract because we would be extending that non-transferable parking pass into contracted things, and which is an item available for executive session. So
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, so let's continue and then we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So the engineering report.
So we just run through. So I'll run through a couple of things real quick. So the first one is the Haviland construction projects. We have been somewhat inundated with the requests from the administration. We've been working on 2 grants for the past 8 weeks. So we've done, we haven't moved this. I have the 3 quotes from them. I have not had an opportunity to review them. It has just been a little, so this will remain on there until I can formally address this with you. But I have all the quotes. They're just, the contractors are just waiting for me to review and go forward. So we'll get that one. The next one was the Yankee Doodle garage facade, and that is what we have as a presentation from THA today. We wanted to just, it's coming to coming to the end of what their contract was looking at, of creating the construction documents. And so we wanted to, as we look to advance this, let me just stop sharing so that they can move this up and I can talk while they were doing. Want to give them an opportunity to show that what was been a result of the community meetings and conversations that's taken place. As they ready that presentation, the item that will be presented to you next month is the conditions assessment report. Which we, so any of the improvements that we make, either in total or in proportion, would be, we would make sure that any of the conditions assessment issues that were identified in the conditions report would be done prior to any of the facade improvements. But you'll hear what those issues are directly from Desmond, who was the contracted vendor who did the conditions assessment in its entirety. This facility, as well as our 2 other our structured facilities, the Sono Garage, as well as the Maritime Center. So without further ado, I will hand this over to Reggie and Julio from the team of THA.
Hi, good evening, folks. Pleasure to be able to present to you. I'm Reggie Paget. I'm the project manager for this project. Julio Castillo is also a designer with me, and we also have Jim Zullo on the call, but unfortunately he can't speak for some reason, but he's also on the call. I just wanted to briefly go over, there are some new faces. I believe most of you are familiar with the project. But I just want to briefly go over, we've been working with Jim Travers and his team in developing some facade enhancements and a few, interior upgrades that would possibly give this parking garage a new look. We are working diligently in finalizing the drawings. The drawings right now, we are at the phase now where we are about 90% complete with the construction documents. We initially started with the report and a design that was open to the public to view, and I believe most of you have had a chance to see what that rendering is. And I will bring it back up just to remind you guys what it is and kind of give you a brief overview of the things that have transpired since we have started the construction documents. So what we're looking at right now is the garage, and we use a software called Revit, and we model it fully just so we can have a better understanding of the building before we begin our designing. So what you're looking at is the existing garage as we initially began to model it. So you're looking at Burnell and River here, and then we're working around to the lot. So a part of the enhancements is site improvement. We limited it to this general area here, and then the rest of it is mainly with the building itself. We tried to do minimal amount of work in order to bring this up to the design, that give it the enhancement and give it a new look. I'll show you what the demo wise, we're looking at. What you see in red is possibly getting rid of some of the ribs. Not all of them, but kind of cutting the ribs to a certain height, as you'll see why we did that. The purpose is for the new design that we are implementing in this series. So to jump right into the design, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, so if I'm going too fast, please slow me down. So I'll just briefly walk you through some of the enhancements and things that we brought into the actual building, just so we're not doing a lot of evasive demolition or anything like that. Like I said, the main demolition is the cutting of the ribs on this side, because we feel that this is a more impactful side and for future uses within the community. So you will see that we added, and I'll just quickly go through, we added a canopy over here to give this a more pronounced entrance. Right now it's kind of tucked into the drive, so this at least allows you to see that this is becoming more of a monumental entrance. Adding a little wall here just so we can give this Park Norwalk sign, play that up quite a bit. Currently, your people are allowed to walk through these ribs. We intentionally put a low knee wall with some grills, decorative grills, not to look like it's a gel or anything. We wanted to make it decorative so it's more, it looks like it fits in. And that way we kind of get folks from walking underneath those ribs, which kind of, we noticed that there was plenty of signs, and we're looking to prevent folks from trying to walk underneath them and possibly hitting their heads. Now, not everybody is that height, but of course there are some areas within the garage, and you can make your way out, and there's a possibility for that. So we're trying to eliminate that need. So the reason why the ribs were mainly cut on this side is that, we're putting this canopy in, and then we're also putting a low a frame at the bottom, which is, we made it work with the ribs quite a bit, just so we're not doing too much to the structure. Also on this end, we're closing
Reggie,
this up. Yes.
Just one thing, on that lower extension of the canopy, is that a flat? Is that something that's flat that runs the length of down below, to the left of the canopy?
Oh, here.
Left, yeah, all the way down that side above the grills.
Oh,
Oh,
to the
right here.
left, yeah, right there.
Is that
Yes.
flat?
It's at an angle.
Okay, so birds aren't gonna be an issue?
I mean,
I just hate to see those spikes being added.
okay, noted.
And then on the grill, it, it makes sense to do it. But it seems a pretty stark contrast to the ribs. It's sort of a Chippendale kind of pattern versus the more modernist lines of the ribs. So just maybe take a look at that.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah, if I could make another question, if you would. Is it possible, it doesn't look like it is, if someone wanted to get out from those, the lower level parking out, just out of the parking garage, they'd have to go through the gated entrance, and maybe that's the whole gist of it, to be able to throw a gate down there. The reason, what I'm getting at is, I think for safety, I always think of a woman, would a woman feel safe? And if things are more open, perhaps they feel a little bit safer. They could go in and out of there very easily the way it is currently. But if it's with those, lack of a better word, gates, is it only through the doorways or the entranceway they can get in and out? Does it give them some limitation?
Right, and quite frankly, we took that approach to force folks to go through. In multiple garages, you're forced to go through the lobbies. We also provided an area for walking through here. So it's stairways, lobby, and then you're also allowed, you can come out through here. So egress wise, you're all covered. But
It's not the open field that it is now, obviously.
So part of that, Peter, does take that, but it's also one of the issues that came up in some of the community discussions is the desire to have this not look like a back of house, right? And I think it was, right? And I think there's other opportunities that could exist with with how this is being reimagined, like the Greer restaurant. I'm probably
Right.
butchering the name, but I'm sorry.
Yeah,
for
it's good.
that.
It's a good place.
They're starting to look at it, at opening that back up, getting so I think that we could potentially see it. So there, our vision is, you can't see them here, but there are pits. So there would be tree pits in there to add greenery into this as well. In some type of little tree, so that we imagine this over time, this could be like a plaza where this is, there's seating out here. And then if there becomes seating that may be supporting some of the businesses that are on the other side, like if they're very long storefronts, right, that are on Wall Street, if to fit maybe future retail needs or current retail needs, maybe this could turn into a pedestrian plaza back here, which I think was
Right. I'm all for aesthetics, 100%. I just don't want, we're guys, everybody here, so to speak, is looking at that and not a problem. But I think women in parking garages look at things a little bit differently. So that's always been a problem for a parking garage. Would a woman go in there? Maybe in the wintertime, it gets dark out at 4:30 in the afternoon. Maybe they're working at the bank or working locally. They're going in there and it's dark. So, you know what I'm saying? So, but I'm all for aesthetics.
I
Peter,
think we
there's-
can take a look at opening that up, so maybe still keeping somewhere that provides that plaza, but maybe opening up one so that your distance isn't as long.
There's an
Well,
example of this. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no.
There's an
it's-
example of this, if I'm recalling correctly, along the Norwalk River Esplanade at 132 East Ave. There's an example of this in their garage. I personally think it's attractive, but I understand where everyone's coming from. if you wanted to see what it might look like.
Let,
Pam
allow
Pam
me
has
to
her
just-
hand raised.
allow me to say that, you know, we do a lot of parking garages, I guess you could tell, being the parking garage consultants. But a lot of the openness actually encourages more outside folks to come in as well. So the bad guys will come in. You have locations where you have the CCTV, the cameras located, whereas if people are coming in and out, it kind of, you can isolate that, you know, as opposed to if you're wide open, more folks are just gonna flow in and out. And it, you know, this kind of sort of makes, if you're a bad guy, you're gonna go around and you gotta work your way past the
cameras and stuff.
the cameras and things. So this is kind of a way to allow for some level of passive security. Also the grills are open to the point where you can certainly see in from outside as well. So it's meant to give an open feel, but also provide a little bit of passive security as well.
Okay, great.
Also to support Reggie's point, most of the issues that we're experiencing at Yankee Doodle Garage from people coming in with her, and it is coming from that gates being, that wall being open. So I think that those grates over here will be more deterrence for people that go into the garage.
There's definitely two ways to look at it.
Pam had her hand raised. I just want to recognize
Woman here.
Pam.
Yes.
I was hoping.
As long as there's enough lighting, enough exits, and cameras and signs that say you are on camera, most women will not park. Well, they'll park in a parking garage during the day. And they'll park in a parking garage that is busy, such as the Sono Mall parking lot. Or it used to be Stanford Mall was very busy. So, I had no problems parking at night there. Most women will park during the day. Wintertime, most women will not go out and park in a garage. They will park on the street. We've been doing this a long time, so.
Pam, I think you'll see as the presentation goes that we try to address that with lighting.
It's lighting, access, exits, and signage that you are on camera.
Yeah.
Most women will park on the lower levels, close to an exit. That's what we're taught, and it's just logical. So I prefer to have the grill work, but it does look Chippendale type, and it doesn't really kind of go with the other, with the top part. I don't know. Maybe.
We will take a look.
And that's fair.
That's aesthetics. But let me just, as a woman, it's you have to feel safe. You normally will be with a husband or a partner. It's as long as you can get in and out. Exits are big, and lighting. So that's my women, that's my female experience.
Thank you, Pam.
Jim, I don't know if you can see Jim Zullo on the call. I don't know, but he was asking if he could be unmuted. I don't particularly see him on the screen. But
What happened to our staff? So let me send, what my view has changed, so pardon me. Norwalk Zoom 4. Can we unmute a participant? Jim Zullo is there, so we should have one participant there. I can't see him.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Reggie, while he's doing that,
I see a phone number. No, It's not a name.
Yeah, I believe that's him. He
Okay,
had to, he's remote, so he had to log in from his phone.
Reggie, while he's doing that, Jim Travers mentioned trees. It looks like there's tree pits there. Are there also, is there also area lighting amongst the trees for what would be, as Jim described, maybe an event space?
Like an
Well,
uplight?
we are incorporating some uplighting for the trees. And you have currently, you have lighting that we're gonna keep. The lighting that washes down the ribs, and then you have the LED lighting that, you know, creates different colors
Okay,
along here.
so Jim,
To that,
okay,
to that note, we are adding more lighting. That same lighting that we have here, we're putting it on all other sides. The south side, the west side here, and the north side.
okay.
So we're
So
gonna
Jim,
have,
who's gonna
and
own?
I'll show you it in the rendering.
Okay, so the parking authority is responsible for that all the way out to that curb, right? On that south side, if you could spin back
That's,
around.
yeah, that's our property, like, yeah,
So we'll maintain those trees and lights.
yes.
Okay, I would just reconsider uplights. I would do some other kind of lighting. If there's lighting gonna be integrated with the trees, I would reconsider uplights.
All right, we'll have a conversation with you.
Okay.
Pick your brain on your
Hey.
expertise.
Hey, Jim, this is Jim Zulo. Sorry, I'm participating via phone.
It's fine.
And I won't believe, my name's Jim. I'm with Jim Zula from THA. And I just wanted to add very quickly, you know, we certainly recognize all concerns about security. And in addition, you know, to Reggie's point about the grills, and we can certainly look at the style based on your comments. You know, those are intended to channel people to the appropriate, you know, both pedestrian entry and exits, as was mentioned, so that people coming in that maybe they shouldn't be, are, you know, are being recorded. But the grade level too, in addition to the very open grills, whatever style they take, you know, we've contemplated, I believe, Reggie, additional lighting on that first level, and maybe even, you know, adding a light colored paint to the underside of that first level to really enhance the user comfortable, bright feel of that grade level of the garage. And with the ribs cut up, as Reggie mentioned, that's really going to open the feel of the garage as well, because those ribs come down now about two or so feet, you know, below that level above, and they kind of create a feel of not darkness, but you know, when those get cut, it's really going to open up and improve the user feel of that downtown area. So, I mean, grade level area. I'm sorry. So, sorry, don't mean to jump in, but
That sounds good.
So, if I may, I'll continue. We added some an enhancement, like a cornice at the top, which you'll see that this is sort of an oversized cornice, just so it can frame, so to speak, the ribs. And what you're seeing here is where we kind of tried to limit it. We know that there are some things that we would like to preserve. So we tried to limit it as much as possible, and put, you know, use the money, get the best bang for the buck. So that's why we're really putting most of it into the top cornice piece here. And then the ribs are your ribs. We're painting them, and we went through the a public survey that Jim spearheaded, and got a lot of feedback from the got a lot of feedback from the public and you guys, and this was the most favorable one of them all. And I'll quickly just show you the renderings if I can just pull them up real quick.
So while you pull those up, Pam and others, completely understand about what's first level, and we think what we're trying to present a plan that's fiscally responsible for us to do, but also recognize the fact that impressions are made by first impression, last impression, right? So it's about how you enter the garage, how you exit the garage. So the first level is about cutting those ribs up to open it up more, get that feeling of openness. We're looking at new lighting that would occur on the first floor, and we're looking at cleaning the lighting that exists on the upper floors. Maybe we're at a time that we can transition this year to year. We do the next phase, but really come up with phase one that is this impactful thing. We also really wanted to make sure that the cornice out is really highlighting the entrance and exits on both sides. And a lot of work is like, how do we make the stairways feel more comfortable? How do we make those exit those areas feel so we're looking at the lighting that occurs in the stairways as well. So there is some sample lights that we have up that we're continuing to work with the vendor, but they're more in a circular pattern. I think it looks a little less industrial than we have right now. It's an affordable solution, but I think it has a better look than just the standard bar that we have going across today.
Right.
I just want to make a quick statement. I'm running my mouse over the stairway that's opened and has a window, and then over here to the far left. Is that a stairway also, or is that the elevator shaft?
That's the elevator shaft, and the stairway's on the other side of it.
Okay, and so the elevator shaft is also windowed?
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to be, for a woman, that's ideal.
Yeah.
Because now the outside public can see
yep.
what's going on. And the other thing I wanted to ask is the other floors, like if you look at the Sono parking, and also I keep going back to the Stanford Mall because they used white paint on every floor.
Yep.
And it really lights, it lightens everything up.
We're looking at that here too.
Okay.
We're looking, that would start on the first floor from just financial perspective.
Okay.
But with the intent that we could always increase it, but the fact that we would do it on one floor and then next year the other would from a maintenance perspective allows us to then start to always be in the mode instead of just repainting the whole entire thing and then repainting it every 5 years or so, whatever. Get it? But
yeah,
you're looking at that painting the brightness that exists in like
it's the stairwells and the elevator shafts that are the scariest for women. And that's why women have a tendency to park on the first floor closest to the entrance or the exit of a mall, or, so, and the lighting. And those are the three big things and this is open. So I would feel comfortable. Okay, let me just tell you, I was when they first built this friggin' thing, I worked at Janung's and I got stuck in the elevator. So I hope we have a new elevator. And that was 40 years ago.
I think we might have upgraded by then.
Okay, I think you upgraded. That's good. Because the fire department had to get me out.
Oh boy, that must have been scary.
All right, Reg, you want to take over?
It was, and they couldn't get it was stuck between floors. So they I had to come down on a ladder.
Oh.
It was freaking scary, but the Broad River, I lived in Broad River. So the Broad River, I knew the firemen. So
I think
it was scary. So, but no,
it's always good to know people in high places,
Oh, I know. But the windows, the openness of any stairwell or elevator is what women look for, because now you have the public, they feel safer.
Yeah, we wanted to
that's
have
a-
the
that's-
stairwells bright, both, visually attractive, bright, and also light wise, and making sure we got rid of any shadows. So there will be new lighting in all the stairs.
Yeah, but the public can see in.
Yep. Yeah,
So that's the
they're almost
key,
like
is-
beacons, right? You pay attention to them now.
Yeah, so somebody driving by and a woman's getting molested, they're gonna call the police. If they see it, because there's bright lights, everybody's gonna look at that and see it.
Yep.
So
And
that's the
those
key.
are, and those are like some of the strategies we like to use at THA and to even further it along, we typically like to have some openings on the inside going into the stair from the inside of the garage. But what we're doing here, we're definitely addressing a lot of, we're trying to add some more lighting as best we can within the budget, because budget is the king. So we have to stay within that. So we're doing some of the best strategies we can. Yes, and painting on the inside is certainly one of the things that we're definitely looking at and trying to implement within this project. We've also tried to implement maybe some super graphics and things of nature to make it also fun on the inside, make it an enjoyable experience. So you're not, most of the time people look at the parking garages as just a place for storage, car storage, but we're trying to make it more of an experience. People like to just park there and freely go wherever they need to go within the town. So we're definitely trying to bring that back, and well, a lot of light is one of the strategies, and painting and putting paint on the inside to help. But again, we are limited to budget, so we're trying our best to do work with what we have.
I hound Reggie a lot on budget, in case you haven't figured that out.
Not only him, I get it
And
from
Jim-
inside too.
And Jim, so do I.
So,
No, it's,
just-
just if Reggie, if I could just, as an overall, like, again, we're all focused on all the security and user comfort issues that you've brought up. And obviously we're looking at every option. One thing too, because Reggie's mentioned, paint is a lot of what's happening here. And we are certainly speccing and dealing with, Sherwin-Williams or whoever it is, to make sure that paint will never peel in the future. It may fade, it may need to be power washed, but that you'll never have a maintenance problem. I come from operating, I used to be a director of a parking authority as well, and I know it's great to do these enhancements, but somebody's got to maintain them going forward. And Jim Travers has been very, very, focused on making sure all the improvements we do are not creating a maintenance problem into the future. So just wanted to let you know that. Within budget, obviously.
Great, thank you. So Reggie, is that everything?
And lastly, just quickly, I'm gonna go through the images, just so you get a visual, more of a visual of what it's gonna actually look like, enhancements. We've made some changes. I guess this bottom base is not gonna be in, but we're still gonna paint and
It's not
do
showing
the
right
top. Just so you get an idea of the lighting, we're looking at, we know you're gonna do some enhancements to the landscaping. That's in another project. But nonetheless, we will provide the backdrop for any landscaping that you're doing. Just to give you some more quick views.
It's not showing.
It's
not showing
only
already.
showing the one view of the garage. It's that
You're
whatever
not,
when
you're
you're
not showing the
Oh,
render.
That is
really?
interesting,
All right, let me stop. Oh, man.
I
I'm sorry.
in interim, Peter, did you have your hand raised, or is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just real quick, because we were just talking safety for a minute. These new pay stations or anything, is there going to be like, lack of a better word, a panic button or something if someone gets into trouble? In other words, maybe I should know this. Are the pay stations have anything like that as part of them?
So
just-
they don't have it part of them. We could discuss with the police officer. The police department runs the blue light cameras, so we could look
Right.
at blue light cameras. But yeah, that's actually because it goes directly to the police department. We could have that conversation with them.
Yeah, I was up in New Haven. It's like every 100 feet, there's one of these things. It's a different city, of course, but since we were talking about safety, I just thought I'd ask.
Yep. No, we'll raise the issue with the police with the police chief.
So can everybody see my screen?
I'm seeing the garage now. Overview. Yep. Cars on
All
top.
right.
Yep. Side. Yep.
So, yep,
Street view.
there's that.
Light.
This is
At night?
Lights, night. Burnell, this corner, Burnell River. This is River Street, entry, parking lot side. Your existing lighting over in this area we'll be utilizing. And we have the Burnell Boulevard side and that's it. I mean, we have some other stuff that we're doing on the interior of the graphics. You can somewhat see some of this here, but you know, we're still going back and forth and working with Jim and the team to kind of figure this out. We may just provide a blank canvas and look, you know, you could do some super graphics later on, but you know, initially everything is being set up for future enhancements as well. Beyond this. And of course, we're going to paint the inside of the stair towers so we can identify the levels, provide some signage for the levels and things of that nature.
Any questions from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, one more from me. I know, Jim, you were talking to Blumenthal's office. I mean, the garage looks like in those renderings looks absolutely beautiful. And then to have if it were able to happen, to get a walkway from the Yankee Doodle garage to the Wall Street Belden corner would be a home run.
Yeah, still working
any-
on that one. We'll come back to you hopefully soon with that with thing, but I think it's a must-have. Right? I think that it would be such a game changer, right? To have this is all about access and openness, and
Oh,
I think we see that plaza back there extending all the way to that walkway. So.
Yeah, tie everything together. And I spoke with someone there today who's actually been there longer than I have, believe that or not. And I asked him, I said, wasn't there a walkway at one time? And there was. He said, you're absolutely right, because you know, I was just a kid and he was maybe 5 or 7 years older than I am. And he goes, no, you're absolutely right. There was a walkway there. So, you know, just to mention that.
All right. Yep. No,
Yes, there was a walkway there. I worked down there as a or in my early 20s. We're right after high school.
All right, let's
So-
bring it back.
I'm trying, Peter.
I know you are.
I very much want that. I think it would be a game changer with that. All right, let me bring your agenda back up.
Excellent. Thank you, Reggie. If you're still on, thank you to your group also.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your
All right.
time.
Reggie and team,
I
thank
really
you very much.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All
you.
right. And, Jim,
Thank
we'll talk on another.
Pardon?
I said, we'll talk.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Okay. Thank
All right.
you. Take care. Appreciate it.
Okay.
So we're at 5B.
So we're at 5B, and I'll make I appreciate your time tonight. I know it's been a long meeting. I'll try to update on a very quickly basis. I wanted to give you a quick update on the IPMI conference that I attended. So that's the annual parking conference. I went there, for, one, A, to see what's happening in the industry. B, also a priority for me was looking at, Pam, I love that shot right now, right? He's like, I'm going to pretend I'm going to be in the meeting. So I'm really looking at a new park system for the Maritime Garage and for the Sono Garage. So I think it was a very well benefit from my attendance there. The park system that we have is Amano, that is in the Sono Garage and the Maritime Garage. I had a long close conversation with the executive team and senior leadership of Amano about the condition of the equipment that we have in those garages and my expectation of what life span should be. They have come back with a very aggressive, I think, proposal, but we're still looking at others. We are also looking, I had an opportunity to kind of talk to people and see different things. We're looking at potentially a piecemeal and you know, so we have a gated solution, I think, you know, as a possibility, but I'm also looking at what does the garage look like if we don't have a gate on either of them, right? And what we're investigating is the cost effectiveness of us doing a license plate, a camera, an LPR at the entrance of the garage and at the exit of the garage, right? If you're a monthly parker, you just have that plate in there. It'll read your park. You'll in and out. For all other parkers, you either pay by cell, you can pay by a station that's there, or if you exit, then, because what I said to them is like, why can't we just have the parking operate as the tolls do on I-90 in Massachusetts, right? Where they got rid of all the tolls, and now it's just cameras. And if I have my Easy Pass, it'll just deduct it from my Easy Pass. If I don't have my Easy Pass, I can call a number and pay. If I don't do that, they send me a bill, right? So the bill is obviously more than if you just paid it ahead of time, right? So my thought is, what if we did the same here, right? What if we get you're in and out of your month, then we don't have a gate that waits for you to go in and out. Right, then the only thing that's holding up traffic is what the capacity of the street could accommodate at the time. So it is one of the things that we're looking into more. I think it would be, you know, very new experience for parkers, getting rid of all the barriers, like you know, there's, you know, and we would have still gates, you know, from the security standpoint, but I want to get rid of those really slow moving gates that are in Sono, like I could fall asleep by the time they open up, right? And there's new ones that just come up in like 10 seconds, 2 seconds, right? Those fly up. I talked to those companies. We're looking at those, but I think, you know, if we're going to look at the cost benefit of that, and we'll come back with some more as these go into play. But I really think there's an opportunity to look at a new experience in parking that you know, gets rid of that old fashioned, you know, gate, slow, come down. Just like, let's open up the garage, let's get people in and out in a lot more, you know, lot quicker manner. You know, we hear from people like, oh, I don't like to pull my pass out, like in the cold, like then I have to like try to find that sweet spot, right? So we're really, we'll have come back more, but I think we had some really cool things that came out of that. That was one of, you know, we have to have a discussion with the Connecticut Department of Motor Vehicles if we can gain that the vehicle owner information based on sending the bill versus a citation. Right now, the law used to be written as a citation, right? I'd like to get away from writing a citation, right? We're just going to they're going to pay for parking. Maybe they pay, you know, maybe it's, you know, if it's the number's $12, maybe they pay $20 if they don't pay, if we have to go to the billing model. But otherwise it's all about, you know, like I want someone to be able to pay for their parking, you know, on a phone coming back from the train, and then you know, they can get out of the garage in 2 seconds. So more on that, but it was a very worthwhile conference, even though it was in Dallas, Texas, not my favorite place, and it also rained every day.
Well, certainly those are all, you know, exiting that garage has proven difficult in very congested time. So yeah, this would be a huge improvement. I
think you're really looking at, you know, what those, you know, that's what I spent a lot of time talking about, like those peak volumes of when the train comes in or when the event leaves at the Maritime. You know, those are the times that people complain, right? Because it's like you're waiting for the other person ahead of time. Who bent their ticket? Who can't find their credit card, right? This would all be just handled. You're just in and out, and I think it could be a game. There's nobody doing it, and I think there could be a real cool game changer as well.
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
All right. The next item that we have it, was a discussion item, and we could put forth a formal proposal if you just decide to move with this, right? But we've had a conversation with the Norwalk Transit District about a proposal to lease the old customer service space that we have in the Yankee Doodle Garage. So the Yankee Doodle Garage off of the Belden Street area, the garage used to man a customer service center. And I think that was back in the day when it was really like a gated garage, and it hasn't been used in a while. The area is just not being used. I don't like anything not being used. I talked to the transit district about their ability, that what they want to do is have the ability to sell some of the passes that may exist out of there, but also a place that they might have more eyes on the street, right? So they might have more security personnel that would walk it. This would be a place for it. So with that interest, we did go to our leasing agent and ask the leasing agent for to give us an estimate of what the value of this lease space would be. They came back with a proposal of $1,200 because it does include the utilities that are associated with it. The space, it does need some repair, and it's the ceiling tiles are there. There was a leak that ceiling tiles were old at one time. So the transit district did come, and in your packet is a proposal asking for $1,000 a month. And they said, would the board consider $1,000? I said, give me a proposal and we'll do it. So if the proposal is something that you are acceptable to, then we would work a lease up and then put the lease in front of you for final vote. But just really at this point in time, I put it as a discussion item and asking you for some direction. I think that any time that we could activate these facilities, having somebody there makes it better. I think we could all, we are adjacent to the bus depot. So offering additional services to the people who ride the bus, I think is a great idea. And also having a place that they could staff security personnel that would be frequently, I think would my personal opinion, be a win-win-win, but looking for your guidance on going forward.
So Jim, you're not asking for a decision tonight. You're just asking whether we're interested in pursuing this.
Yes.
So in the essence of time, can we just get a quick thumbs up, thumbs down for Jim? So is there anybody, it's a discussion, so we don't need to formally vote, right?
Right.
So,
I just was looking for, so more just a discussion.
Is there anybody that would oppose pursuing this avenue?
Doesn't look like. So you'll see it. You'll see a formal proposal on the next agenda, and I'll
Okay,
have
great.
that here if you want to ask any questions.
All right, awesome, thank you.
All right. So the other item was, so in the last month's meeting, Judd asked me to look at the signage in the South Norwalk rail station, went with Rocky to look at the signage. Looked at the signs. We're adding, I gave direction to last. There were a fair amount of the 3 ways to pay sign that was posted on all of the fences. I've asked for some updates to some signage that I think were peeled off, and some addition. But I was informed that we made a decision a while back that we didn't have we did no pay in the surface lot on Sundays. And in your packet, I'll go down to the end. I asked Rocky in the interim to do me a favor and capture the parkers that are there on Sundays so that we could have full. All right, just sorry, I just gotta move this thing. Full discussions about what we have. So this is the activity that happened for the month of May into the month of June. So it is lightly used. So what you're showing in the percentage is the percentage that is available, right? So that's the percentage of empty spaces that were available. So I don't know if it's used quite heavily. I think my just concern on offering free parking on a surface lot and not offering it in the garage is just, if I didn't know, I just think it's to have half of the garage pay, to have the garage pay, and I think it's a gated garage. I think, I mean, it's a facility that we have to man. We have to, the people have to be there. I wanted to just put out to you, just, do we want to continue a free parking? Because I do want to do better signage and I want to include it in the overall plan. But just looking, if we have free on one day, just wanted to chat with you if this is still the direction that the authority wants to go in.
Well, it just strikes me that I don't see this really as that much different than on-street parking. And on-street parking is free on Sundays, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What does everybody think?
I'm not sure this is actually a good representation because the signs that indicated there was free parking there have been down for at least 3 months, and I'm guessing maybe longer. But we've run it this way for a few years, and there really haven't been any problems. We did it because a couple of citizens requested it. Sound Cyclists typically run their group bike rides from train stations all along I-95, and some Norwalk residents said Norwalk is the only place that charges for parking on Sunday, so we don't run our rides out of here. And Jim, I also just want to say, I stopped in there on a Sunday, fired up Park Mobile, and the half of the parking lot that is closest to the platform, it said basically, Park Mobile, you couldn't pay except for the fee, right? So there was no hourly rate possibility on Sunday. When I moved over to the fence by Chestnut Street, it's a different zone. I think, Rocky, is that 24 or something like that? Zone 24 over there?
Rocky, you're on. Okay.
Sure, it depends on what you, Jim.
But anyway, when you get closer to Chestnut Street, it tells you have to pay on Sunday. So I think, that's probably, without the signage and Park Mobile splitting the parking lot in half, has added a lot of confusion. But again, to me, I think Eric makes a good point. It's not a whole lot different than the streets, and it's been operating this way for at least 2 years, and we didn't have any complaints or anything like that. So
All right, we'll look for better sign. We're going to move forward with better signage. So I just was looking for direction before we.
How's the East Avenue lot at the train station? Is that pay on Sunday?
It is.
All right, so then there's the discussion about consistency, which is important. All of our, I think consistency might override just about everything. So the case could be made that we can eliminate a bit of confusion by being consistent.
Well, sorry. Again, I'm not aware of confusion. When James Emery set up the parking over at East Norwalk train station, you may remember it's quite a complicated situation over there. And I had spoken to him about making it free at East Avenue to conform to South Norwalk, and he had some reason why it couldn't be done. So
Well, yeah, it probably has to do with the arrangements or agreements that were made with.
Yeah,
around.
with the
But
crown and.
so, you know, I think there is confusion potentially from what, you know, and Jim pointed it out with the difference of the garage having a fee and the surface lot, you know, potentially continuing to not have a fee. And then once the garage is built at the new project that's there, that will be paid, there'll be, you know, that will be paid on Sundays inside there, I would imagine. So to me, it makes the case for this to be a paid lot on Sundays.
But
To be consistent with what's happening in the current garage and then in the future garage at Chestnut.
well, then I'm gonna make the argument that we should be charging on the street too, because we charge all the surface lots.
Maybe we should,
What's that?
but maybe we should, but tonight the question is this lot.
Okay.
You know, I've often wondered about the streets and so I think having, yeah, I think the consistency of it is important.
But I don't see that it's ever been a problem, so.
So Jim, do you need a vote or do you need?
So I just, you know, if you want to do a vote, I could do it. We could do another item. I didn't, or you just, you could amend to do it. I just was, you know, I was looking at signage. I, you know, was looking at how it, you know, it was, you know, and then when I learned that we didn't charge here on Sundays, you know, I think I like consistency, right? But I do, so I just felt it weird that, you know, I understand, you know, the garages are, you know, manned facilities and we gotta pay people, right? I think it's gonna be, it's just, I think this, at some point in time, we will probably have to look at it because I think if it remains free is if, you know, if it's all the residents there, you know, once housing comes into play, it becomes a little tighter of a market, right? You know, we're losing with that, you know, 70-ish parking spaces, right? So you know, supply and demand come a little bit into play. So,
So knowing what's coming in that future development, that's another case, I think, to start charging now versus, you know, all of that change that's going to come and then start charging as well. So I think, you know,
if you'd like, what I could do is we can gather information about what we're seeing for usage over at East Norwalk, and we could also see what we're seeing in the garage, right? So that the decisions you make are fully. I didn't, you know, get, you know, they're you know, I think we have a picture here, but maybe we just need to expand the picture, and I'll have that as an item for next month if you'd like.
yeah, let's do that because I think once that new project is built, this whole lot is going to be redesigned. It's changing, and you know, it's everything's going to be different when that happens. So
yes,
I think the question would be, knowing that it's going to be so dramatically different, is it better to establish a payment policy now, or waiting until, you know, all of that is you know, complete or at some point near, you know, in the more near future.
all right. So Rocky, if you can begin to have the crew get the same count at the East Norwalk and and then just what do we have from the machines so that we have the report for the garage for the board for next month.
Okay, we'll do that, Jim. So also as a point, Jim, we did start getting a request from residents that just got completed from the new Spinnaker building about visitors parking in the parking lot for free. So that just want to give a heads up.
In South Norwalk.
In the overflow lot, they were asking for, you know, if their visitors park in the parking lot, do they have to pay? So, you know, some residents are actually offering, you know, the free parking for their visitors on Sundays.
And that's the situation that's going to escalate when the next project gets built. So yeah, I think we should look at it in context of the platform, which is the current building, the new building, which is the one you're referencing, Sirak, and then the future building. And then we don't know what the parking lots, how it's going to be configured at that point. So, I mean, everything's going to be changing. So, is there an advantage to employing a paid Sunday policy now, or in the midst of some of those changes, or after, or whatever?
All right. Well, we'll gather that information and we'll just, but hopefully by then we'll also have a better look at what the lot will look like, because that's being redesigned now with the consultant. So we'll have more.
Oh, good.
I
Okay.
can do that for next month.
Okay.
I want to add, Norwalk is the only non-Amtrak stations, East Norwalk and South Norwalk, that charges at their surface lots on Sundays. So every other station along the line except Stamford, Bridgeport, New Haven provides free Sunday parking on their train station lots. So anyway, let's
Okay.
move on.
All right, good, great, thank you. So,
All right, so quickly, I'll go through the other ones. So we have all of the halos in place. We have all of the meters in place running their old the old software. We for the 15-minute, we were looking at the signage. I had the engineer working on that. Unfortunately, we had just been wrapping up the end of a very, very extensive grant that the administration asked us to put in. So all hands have been on deck for the last month to get that out. It's quite large grant request, so fingers crossed on it. But we will get to the other signage for this. So I will do a separate email for you, but we are shortly we'll shortly be, I think within the next week or most likely two, be in a position to do the press announcement for the 15-minute option. So more on that, I will communicate with you via email.
great, thank you.
And that covers the B of the status of delivery. Everything has been delivered. All the parts finally arrived, and we are good to go. The last item was James did bring up to you. This is how long this has been going back and forth. But we have finally made our way at least through our attorney and the coffee shop's attorney. We had that whole presentation. He did talk about it, but in the minutes, you did not formally agree to the lease. So I need you to discuss and approve entering into a lease agreement with Black by Demand, which would be a coffee shop opening in the South Norwalk train station. And the lease is attached. It has all been agreed upon, negotiated by our attorney and her attorney. Everything is in play. She's very anxious to get in, and we, I think, are very anxious to do that, to provide that service to the users. So if you agree to enter into a lease agreement with Black by Demand, I can present that lease to Eric for signature. So that one I do need a vote on, because our notes is we discussed it, but we did not vote to enter into.
Okay. So anybody with any thoughts on it?
Let's get it signed.
Okay, so is that a motion? Is that a
I'll make
motion?
a motion for Jim Travers to present the lease with Black by Demand to Chairman Eric Rains for signing.
And second?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, great. It carries. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. We are meeting her on Friday, so I'm sure she's going to be very excited, right? So
Excellent.
this is, I think really, really going to be great.
Okay.
All right.
So let's circle back back to the executive session point. probably best, regardless of Robert's rules or any of that, probably best to schedule something quickly in the near future to do that. Because I think that, yeah, I think once we get into it, we're gonna need some time, and I don't want it to be rushed.
Okay, I will, I'll work with you via email to get that date.
Okay,
All right,
and- okay, excellent, great, thank you. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Peter. Second?
Second.
I'll
Thank you.
second it.
Great, thank you.
thank you, everyone. Sorry for a long meeting.
No, it's
Thank
okay, it's all right, it's all good
I
stuff.
think it was an informative one though, but thank you.
It was, definitely.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
All right, bye.